Every time someone's comment, look, or opinion gets under your skin, you give up your power. Every time you replay a conversation that's already over, you're leaking energy. And if you're watching this right now, chances are you're tired. Tired of reacting, tired of proving yourself. Tired of feeling like the world is constantly pressing down on you while you barely have time to recover. The hard truth is this: the problem isn't other people, circumstances, or an unfair life. The problem is that you're too easy to control through your emotions. And until you change that, you will always be controlled. The strongest people aren't the ones with fewer problems. They're the ones problems no longer shake. They don't explode. They don't justify themselves. They don't argue. They observe, assess, and move forward. Imagine a state where nothing can throw you off balance. You're criticized and there's silence inside. Things don't go as planned and you stay calm. Someone tries to provoke you and you don't react. Not because you don't care, but because you no longer hand control of yourself to the outside world. This is the state you must learn to live in if you want real power, not an illusion of it. Most people live in constant dependence on external noise. They care about what others think, how they're judged, whether they're right, and that's exactly where their weakness lies. The moment your mood depends on someone else's words, you've already lost. When your inner peace depends on someone else's behavior, you are no longer in control of your life. Strength isn't about who responds the loudest, it's about who can afford not to react at all, because they understand the value of their energy. Have you noticed that truly confident people almost never rush? They don't explain themselves, they don't over-justify, they don't get dragged into pointless arguments. Their movements are calm, their gaze is steady. They seem to know something most people don't. And what they know is simple: the less you react, the more power you have. When someone tries to provoke you and you simply stay silent and walk away, you take away their most powerful weapon, your reaction. You deny them the victory. You step out of a game designed to humiliate you. The same applies to failure. Most people don't break because they fail, they break because they identify with failure. They tell themselves, "I'm a failure. Something's wrong with me. I messed up again." And they stay stuck in that state for months, even years. Strong people do it differently. To them, failure isn't a blow to their identity, it's information, data, experience. They don't chew on emotions, they extract lessons and move forward. While some drown in self-pity, others calmly recalibrate and come back more dangerous than before. Real strength begins with a pause. The pause between what happens and how you respond. In that moment, you either take control back or you give it away again. Every time you feel the urge to explode, defend yourself, or prove something, ask one simple question: will this actually matter in a year? In 5 years? Or am I just wasting my energy right now? Most of the time, the answer is obvious. And when you consciously choose not to react, you start building armor inside yourself. You become harder to provoke, harder to destabilize, harder to break. You may not believe it yet, but the less you show that something affects you, the more respect you earn. People sense stability. They sense someone who doesn't panic, doesn't swing emotionally, doesn't lose control. It's felt without words. That's real charisma, calm, in the middle of chaos. And if you watch this video until the end, you'll understand how to reach that state step by step. A state where no one controls you anymore, where you don't suppress emotions, you command them, and where your strength becomes visible even when you say nothing at all. If you think the ability to stay calm is just about personality or psychology, you're deeply mistaken. This is directly about money, about growth, about influence, about why some people consistently get richer while others keep running in circles for years, even though they seem to be trying just as hard. Money doesn't go to people who are emotionally unstable. Money goes to those who can think cold, act precisely, and keep their head under pressure. Because every impulsive action is a mistake. Every emotional decision is a lost opportunity. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you made bad financial decisions on emotion? invested in the wrong thing because you were afraid of missing out, spent more than you should have just to feel better, abandoned your plan because you were angry, exhausted, or disappointed. Emotions make you poorer, not instantly, not obviously, but systematically. As long as you react instead of calculate, you are convenient, easy to manipulate by advertising, by pressure, by other people's opinions. And as long as that's true, real wealth will remain out of reach. Strong people see reality differently. They don't cling to emotions, they manage them. When the market drops, they don't panic. When a deal falls apart, they don't collapse. When someone tries to knock them off course, they don't go to war. They understand one simple truth: chaos is a filter. It removes the weak and rewards those who stay clear-headed. While others rush, justify, and get nervous, they calmly secure the best positions. And here's the key point that breaks most people's thinking. Emotional detachment is not coldness or indifference. It's discipline. It's the ability not to sell your attention and your state of mind to anyone who decides to press a button. The less you're triggered, the more you can focus on what actually matters. And what matters is always the same: growth, skills, income, influence. Everything else is noise that drags you down. A poor person lives by reactions. He reacts to news, to comments, to other people's behavior. His mood swings, and with it, his effectiveness. A wealthy person lives by strategy. He may feel anger, fear, or doubt, but he doesn't allow those states to control his decisions. He understands this. Every calm, well-calculated decision is a step forward. Every restrained reaction is a resource preserved. When you stop reacting to provocations, your perspective widens. You start noticing opportunities that used to pass you by. You stop proving and start earning. You stop arguing and start building. You stop explaining and start executing. This is the foundation of the mindset of people who rise above average. They don't waste energy on anyone who doesn't pay them dividends. And here is the decision that changes everything. You start treating your emotions as signals, not commands. You feel irritation, that means someone is trying to pull you out of balance. Good. You're on the right path. You feel fear, that means growth is ahead. But you don't stop. You observe and move forward. You stop making decisions in the heat of the moment. You give yourself a pause. And pause is a luxury of the strong. At that point, you become dangerous to a system that's used to pushing people's buttons. Because you can't be bought with emotion. You can't be knocked off course by noise. You can't be forced to act against your own interests. You start moving slowly, but inevitably. And that's how real money is made. Not in chaos, not in hysteria, but in silence and control. And most importantly, people feel it. They start speaking to you differently. They start taking you seriously. Because calm under pressure is a sign of strength. And strength always attracts resources. Money flows to where there is control. Influence flows to where there is no chaos. And if you can hold yourself together while others fall apart, you automatically move into a different league. At some point, you realize a simple truth. Real power doesn't shout. It doesn't prove itself. It doesn't justify itself. It simply exists. The further you go, the quieter you become. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you no longer waste words. You stop explaining your moves to people who wouldn't understand them anyway. You stop revealing your plans. You stop reacting to every jab. And that's the moment you become truly dangerous, because you can no longer be read. Silence is not weakness, it's control. When you stay quiet, other people start talking. They reveal themselves rushing, fidgeting, filling the space. They expose their fears, their intentions, their insecurity, and you watch, you listen, you remember. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, the advantage belongs to the one who can hold the pause. The less you speak, the more weight your words carry. The less you explain, the more closely people observe you. The calmer your reactions, the stronger your presence feels. Control begins inside. Not over people, not over circumstances, over yourself. While most people live on impulses, you live by principles. While they argue, you build. While they fight for validation, you calculate. You no longer enter conflicts that bring you no benefit. You don't spend energy on those who don't affect your path. You don't participate in drama because you understand the price of focus. And focus is the currency of the strong. This is what makes you untouchable. If you can't be provoked, you can't be knocked off course. If words can't hurt you, you can't be broken psychologically. If you can't be pushed into emotional decisions, you won't make fatal mistakes. You become someone who stays in the game even when everything around collapses. And people like that always take more than the rest. Inner strength is when you don't need the world's reaction to feel confident. When your state doesn't depend on approval, likes, praise, or recognition, you are your own point of support. And people feel it. They don't always understand why being around you makes them uncomfortable or, on the contrary, calm. They just sense that you don't need them. And the one who doesn't need is always higher in the hierarchy. You start moving in silence, working while others talk, growing while others argue, accumulating strength while others waste it on proving themselves. And at some point, the results begin to speak for you. No explanations, no justifications, no extra words. This is what real control over your life looks like. Remember this: the less you react, the fewer levers the world has over you. The calmer you are under pressure, the higher you rise. The quieter you move, the farther you go. In a world run by emotion, the one who wins is the one who controls himself. And if you make this the foundation of your life, one day you'll realize you've become someone who can't be shaken, can't be broken, and can't be stopped. Because you chose control. You chose silence. You chose strength. If we're being completely honest, most people will never become wealthy, not because they lack intelligence, connections, or opportunities, but because they can't endure the distance. They burn out on emotions. They react too much. They worry too much. They turn off course too often because of other people's words, temporary setbacks, and their own inner noise. Their lives become an endless chain of impulses. And impulses don't build capital. Impulses destroy it. Look at your life without illusions. How much energy have you already wasted on people who played no role in your future? How many decisions did you make while angry, afraid, or exhausted, and then pay for them for months? How many times did you know exactly what needed to be done, but didn't do it because you were emotionally drained? This is the real cost of lacking control. Not dramatic, not sudden, but quiet and cumulative. This is how people stay stuck for years, telling themselves, it's just not the right time yet. But time has nothing to do with it. Everything comes down to one question: who controls your state, you or the outside world? As long as your emotions are being pulled by news, comments, other people's success, and pressure, you're not a player, you're a pawn. You can work hard, think hard, want a lot, but without inner control, all your effort will leak through your fingers. Because money favors those who are stable. Growth chooses those who can handle pressure. Influence goes to those who don't fall apart in moments of uncertainty. That's why real results are almost always created by quiet people. People you rarely see, but can't easily bypass. People who don't announce their plans, but methodically execute them. People who don't need to prove they're strong because they already know it. They may feel fear, doubt, or tension, but they don't allow those states to control their actions. They don't sell their attention. They don't give away their energy to anyone who tries to provoke them. They choose the pause. And the pause is a position of power. This is where the solution begins. It isn't flashy. It isn't fast, but it works. You stop asking yourself, how do I feel? And start asking, what is profitable right now? Not what feels good, not what calms the ego, but what moves you closer to the goal. You begin training cold clarity. When you want to respond, you stay silent. When you want to prove something, you calculate. When you want to quit, you take the next minimal step. This is how a person is formed who, over time becomes financially dangerous. Because wealth is not a spike, it's a system. It's the ability to make rational decisions day after day, even when there's a storm inside. It's staying calm when others panic, not celebrating too early, not breaking too quickly. Once you develop this trait, life starts to change quietly but irreversibly. You lose less, you make fewer mistakes, you see opportunities more clearly, you choose people better, you approach risk more calmly, and all of that directly converts into money, growth, and influence. And most importantly, you stop being convenient. You're harder to pressure, harder to manipulate emotionally, harder to pull into other people's games. You no longer live in constant defense mode. You begin acting from a position of choice, and choice is a privilege of those who have control. At that point, you stop chasing results and start moving toward them, slowly, coldly, inevitably. Remember this state: silence inside, clarity in your mind, minimal reactions, maximum precision in action. This is what a person looks like who eventually pulls ahead. Not because they got lucky, but because they stopped fighting the world and took control of themselves. And if you truly want a different level of life, not fast, but real, start here. Not with money, not with schemes, not with motivation, but with the ability to hold yourself together when others lose control. Because in a world where most people live on emotion, the one who stays calm wins. In a world full of noise, the one who moves in silence rises. And if you can endure this path, one day you'll realize you're no longer looking for strength outside yourself. You've become it.